Hello, and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your Daily Bite of Degen, episode number 637, coming to you live from somewhere nowhere, Rhode Island. That is right. We are back from Poland via Boston. As of yesterday, we are back stateside, and this is actually a space that we have had planned for almost like 2 weeks now, which has been really cool. And I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone that's joining us, everyone on LinkedIn, Player One Taco YouTube, 0xDegens YouTube, Twitch, Discord, Rumble, Kick, On-Chain via Unlonely, Twitter Spaces, Twitter Video, and those that are going to be watching later on Soul Media Chat. Why not put this on Chain and why not put this on Solana? But we have some great guests today. We have Jock and we have Fletcher from Hashlock Security, and security in Web3 is always a hard topic to talk about. You have the people that you should have known better, and you have you're a dumbass, and you have people that are like, hey, let's try to make this better. So, because the number one thing right now, it's not if, but when. And that's in all things, not just in Web3. If any type of organization or group of people or a very malicious bad actor target you in some way, shape, or form, they're bound to get something. Talking with Hashlock today, we're going to figure out some of those ways that Hashlock works to protect your assets, protect you, and maybe some tips and advice. These things you might already know, but some of them might be new and some of them might be fun. But we are going to talk Degen things. And so I really want to thank both Jock and Fletcher for joining us today. GM, gentlemen, coming in from all the way down under.
Yes, indeed. That was, by the way, that was a very cool intro. Thank you for that. But yes, very excited. I'm not sure what time it is for you, but the time actually lined up pretty well. So it's only 1 p.m. for us. But yeah, all the way from Australia.
That's it. Put another shrimp on the barbie.
Yes. I thought it's wrong if I say that, right? But you can say that.
That's it. That's not a knife. This is a knife. We're used to it all now. But yeah, GM, thanks for having us. Awesome intro. And yeah, thanks so much for having us, Taco.
Not a problem. So, Jock, Fletcher, obviously, I think we're going to talk about Hashlock a little bit here and there. But let's pull you guys apart individually for a minute and just sort of what your Web3 journey's been and stuff like that, and why security is important. Jock?
Yeah, of course. So I was in security in sort of the Web2 space, and I was always interested in Web3 tech, a long-term sort of holder in the space. And people would always come up to me personally, and they would ask questions about, Bitcoin, Ethereum, how can I invest? Where do I go? What do I do? And I sort of noticed slowly but steadily this group of two camps appearing, I guess, in the broader ecosystem. And, you have camp A, where you have, I guess, degens that are already invested in the space and everyone believes in the tech. And then you have group B, which is sort of people who are a bit weary. They hear of all the scams and the hacks that go on in the space, and they're sort of not sure if they want to sort of invest or be a part of sort of the Web3 ecosystem. So I guess I looked at this from a cybersecurity point of view and saw that one of the biggest barriers to entry for mass adoption was security, because unfortunately there is a lot of hacks and scams that happen, and people do use this tech as another tool to scam people. But I think that is just sort of a problem of the tech still being in somewhat of its infancy. And eventually, I think, it's obviously the future. So how can we promote mass adoption? Well, that's through security. So how can we do that better? Well, how's it happening already in the space with other security firms out there? And what are they doing wrong, and what could they be doing better? And that's sort of what we set out to achieve with Hashlock.
Okay. All right. I got some questions for you there later on. Fletcher, what about you? What has been your Web3 journey? What got you here?
Well, shout out to Jock. He introed me to the Web3 space and crypto, and especially Bitcoin, very early on. And I'm more of my background was in sort of marketing and sales, studied business and things like that. So I'm very passionate around, things like digital marketing and things like that. And then from there, bit of a small degen phase, and investing and buying in certain things. And then Jock and I, started Hashlock. And as Jock explained, the idea was, the first thing that we saw was that the space wasn't secure, and that was one of the biggest needs to attack. And so the Hashlock's journey has been crazy, and ups and downs, and some of those challenges that we can talk about. But we've got to be on side with some of the coolest projects in the world, helping them make sure that they're secure. And I've personally learned a lot just from the cool people that we've worked with and the team that we have. And they're the real experts in what we do. So that's essentially my journey. Just pretty basic. Yeah, just hear about the news quite early, dabble in it for a bit, and just get jumped in and Hashlock sort of on a life of its own.
Okay. So this will go to maybe like Jock, you said how to do security better. Where do you see security failing right now?
It's interesting. I think maybe like as a service, there probably is things that could be done better, and that's what we set out to do. I think one of those was like communication. So initially, when we were sort of scoping out and doing a bit of like research and dev into how we could sort of offer the service in a more sort of professional and I guess efficient way. A lot of development firms that we're in talks with were sort of saying about the general process of getting security services like a smart contract audit. It was, send a couple thousand USDT, USDC over Telegram, and hopefully within like 3 to 6 months, you get a report back. That was some of the experience that people were having at other firms. And I think part of that, if you are selling security as a service, you need to sort of know who is behind the work that is being done. And that was something that we intended to change and have changed with what we do over at Hashlock. And I think as well, maybe a better form of communication. So we also try to we open up all these channels of comms with our clients, and we also try to ensure that, I guess, nothing's going to get missed. No one's on a level of communication where things are sort of, being left in a gray area. And I think by doing that, we've really sought out and delivered a better sort of service compared to some of the other firms out there. And it's much more collaborative then as well.
Okay. Fletcher, so you're some of the sales side. So you're expected to sort of be on that front line, that first person that people talk to at the top of the funnel. Are there projects that you that come to you for security and you're like, not today, Satan?
I love that. That's epic. The thing with us that makes it tricky is that we want to be impartial and independent. So for us, a lot of the value is that we put our name behind it. So like you said, we do have to be careful and want to be careful with who we work with and things like that. So there's definitely that element in there where just making sure it's a legitimate business and a legitimate protocol and team. But once it's there, if they are really, not secure, then that's when we have to help them the most. So, it's where we can add the most value. So yes, there's some more scary ones for sure. For us, the biggest things are making sure that they're a real team, they're a real protocol, the founders are real, and that the intentions are right. And we're very careful about working with certain types of project goals. Like, we don't want to work with projects with the goals to pump and dump, or things that aren't even related to security. Just if their ambition is just a quick rug pull and quick money, then probably not going to do it for multiple reasons, for brand reasons, ethical reasons, stuff like that. But for other than those things, we'll help any team to, even if we think that's risky. We've had some clients come in, we're like, hey guys, even if we, work with you a lot, by nature, what you're building is risky as, and they don't care. So we say, okay, look, as long as you know that we can give it our best effort, you're still going to be a risk, then, it's cool. So
give me an example. What's something like that looks like a honeypot, I guess you could say, or at least not necessarily a true honeypot, but a vector of attack.
Well, that's where we always declare the own executable functions within the report. So that's sort of the thing that if we can see from the outset looking in before we've really had a deep dive that, like Fletcher was saying, something looks risky. A lot of the time what is said in the white paper doesn't represent what happens in the code. And that can be like a difficult conversation with project founders, especially when the development's been external. And that's another thing to look at as well, people leaving in back doors. But essentially, the cool thing about this space, especially compared to Web 2 cybersecurity, where it's very much, closed doors. No one wants this. If someone has a vulnerability in their traditional Web 2 system, they don't really want to let anyone know about it. In the Web 3 space, it's very much, air your dirty laundry, because if we find those vulnerabilities, then we know they don't currently exist. They're not hidden within the code. Yeah. So that's sort of the comms piece there for security as a service, that when we do this audit report, we're going to find some things, and depending on how you've set it up and what you're intending to do, it might look bad. But that's why as well, we have the 2 stages of the report. So we have the preliminary stage, and that's all sort of closed source. That's private and confidential. And then we have the revised report, and that's the one that is open source. So all the findings that you see in the preliminary one, they are fixed in the revised, but it's sort of like a security issue in of itself, that we can't publish the preliminary findings while there's still vulnerabilities present in the code. Yeah.
And that falls along the lines of like a lot of 0-day almost or day 1 exploits. You find something and, the ethical reporting side of it, some projects, they have like a 90-day turnaround, and you're like, yeah, but this can be exploited now, and so, you have a burden to bear almost of like how quickly does someone fix this, So how long have you guys been around for as Hashlock?
Just over 2 years, 2 and a bit years. So we're one of the newer firms, but we're definitely one of the faster growing firms, because we, the way that we do things and how we sort of run it, and a few of our, ways of servicing our clients have been really popular within the community. Essentially, we really value competition level auditors, from Code Arena and places like that, and we give transparency to the client as to what individuals are actually assigned to them, and we, rather than just sending a report, we actually get the auditors in meetings and group chats with them while we're doing it, and collaborate with them as we go. So the community really likes that. So we're one of the faster growing firms, but one of the newer firms for sure.
So in 2 years, and I want to get into your style of your reports and stuff like that and how you do that. I want to get into that in a second. But over the last 2 years, how many official audits have you guys done?
Publicly, so not all of our audits get published, but in terms of how many clients have we serviced, it's over 100 and something now, if I look into our CRM.
Okay.
Yeah, 100 and something like that now. But out of that, probably only 40% get published, because we do a lot of, because Hashlock's history came out of doing very corporate work in Australia, like blockchain R&D style thing for enterprise blockchain research. That's where we started. And so, a lot of them are, or alternatively, some of our clients are just ongoing.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, we've serviced over 100 different clients, and there's all sorts in there, from anyone, like I said, to enterprise sort of style blockchain, right through to, funded, most of them like funded DeFi protocols or ecosystems and things like that. And it's been a fun journey for sure.
And so one of the things too, Jock, like as you guys are doing reports and stuff like that, as Fletcher was saying, you don't just say this and this. You guys actually like sort of like KYD, know your dev in a way, or know your auditor, KYA.
Yeah, I guess it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah, break that down and why you thought that was important.
Yeah, well, I think that sort of also goes to one of the things that we saw that other firms were doing in the space that we wanted to, go about changing. And we saw that, there's been plenty of big international firms that scale at the sort of pace of the market, and that can lead to some inefficiencies and sort of drops in quality. And we wanted to be scalable, because at the end of the day, we are, running a business, but at the same time, we didn't want to scale at the expense of quality. So we knew, although Hashlock is pretty young, we've been hanging around in the space for a bit, we knew that, the best security researchers were out there, and a lot of the time they weren't being completely utilized to their best potential. They're on the bug bounty competitions like, Codarena, Sherlock, Communify. And a lot of these firms were like, oh, who are you guys using? And a lot of them were using traditional Web 2 cybersecurity people. And they were sort of giving them a quick run through Ethernaut or something and chucking a Web3 party hat on them. And we didn't really see that as sufficient when there were so many really cool security researchers out in the space, killing it, doing like independent reports, just doing like, their own sort of soul jobs. And they weren't being utilized. So we thought, well, it's a difficult sell to like a big corporate and enterprise that, maybe the best security researcher for your job is like in the top 10 rankings on Codarena, and his name is, XX crypto spelt with a 7. And that's a hard sell to corporates that's the person that might be handling your security. But in all reality, this person has, on their portfolio, plenty of critical and high vulnerability findings, and they've, secured hundreds of millions of dollars. Why would you, go to a firm that's just using someone who's like green to the Web3 space, especially in terms of security? Because although architecturally there's crossovers, there's a lot of things that are completely different. So I think we changed up a model where we have not only a bunch of full-timers internally that are sort of managing the processes and the systems at Hashlock, but we also utilize these security researchers that are killing it on the bug bounty platforms. Yeah. And I think that's something that not a lot of firms are doing, and that's how we wanted to diversify.
And that's one of the things too that you do with your diversification. You're not always using the same auditors, especially if it's different chains, so different languages and stuff like that. You're actually going after auditors and devs that are chain specific or that have that known history with that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's another massive point of difference, because a lot of auditing firms, they just have their core team of auditors or their core set of auditors, and they sort of assign based on, who's sort of the best fit, who's available. But with Hashlock, it's a huge part of our selling point that if at all possible, we're always going to try to assign security researchers either that we'd have in our squad or that we've worked with before that have had specific case studies in that area. If it's a ZK audit, okay, who in our squad, or who can we assign from the community even, and then with a public portfolio in ZK or in Bridge audits or in Rust or Golang or whatever it is. So that's sort of how we work, and then giving the client transparency into, hey, this is actually who's been assigned to you. So it's really beneficial, and it allows us to be far more broad in what we can provide, but then way more specialist in the individuals on the audit. So it works for both sides in terms of us getting more capability, but then the client getting a more specialized service.
I love it when people put up like horrible things that I just love when it's some things I can't change unless I go into a different app, but like literally someone's just going up a print screen Vercel app. I love it. So, oh my gosh, it's just, you can't. Yeah, it's awesome. So, one of the things that you were sort of talking about was the researchers that are within your community and growing and stuff like that, and part of your team. I've worked with a lot of different security companies, Certic, and mostly, and Sec3, OtterSec, and then as well as Hacking. I've done a lot of things for a really long time. What I sort of want to know is, like, as you've sort of said, you have your own little internal army that's building. Hacking's done sort of something to where they've built an army, aka their trust army, where they, like, you don't know anything about security researching, well, here's a course, and like, here's a free course to learn how to do it and earn like a certificate and like sort of build through it all. So my question is, where do you sort of see like that sort of moving for you guys, and like acknowledging your community as well, because it's not just the projects that that are relying on you, but it's the community of those projects, whether they know who you are or not. How do you guys address them, and what do you do to include them in things?
I do like that idea of having our own courses and educating the community. I really like that, because Yeah, there's not enough good security researchers that are out there in terms of individuals. Especially in all the different areas. And you want people that are specialists. You don't want people that are Web3 security researchers. You want people that are specialists in a specific type and a specific language. So there's just not enough. There's a shortage of them. So I like putting out educational content. It's something that Hashlock's definitely going to continue to do more in the future and help train up the more sets of auditors that can help secure the community. So I like that approach. And then for us, yeah, it's more so growing our network as a company, growing our ecosystem. So there's a bunch of things that we're going to expand into, probably doing, because obviously we could do the private audits and the private services, but at some point there might be more of Hashlock's own bug bounties, or Hashlock's own more competition style audits and things like that. So building out more of an ecosystem play at the same time, long term, so that whatever the client needs in terms of security, Hashlock's the one-stop shop ecosystem. Collaborating with other audit firms as well and other security teams, always love to do that when possible, because it helps us learn, helps them learn, but it helps the client. Jock, is there any other ideas that I'm missing?
Yeah, we've definitely looked into doing more stuff around, I guess, education in the space. In Australia, there's an organization called TAFE, which is sort of a RTO, a sort of in between university, high school sort of education place. And we would in talks about offering smart contract security course there and doing something around blockchain cybersecurity as well. We've been hit up with a couple of people who run courses in the security space and don't really have the expertise in the Web3 side of things yet. What we do sort of if people hit us up internally, we'll sort of point them in the direction of a lot of resources that we find valuable. And we do have a sort of a newsletter that's a very sort of top level overview that anyone can read about what's happening in the space. But I definitely agree there needs to be more, because there are so few security researchers out there. And then, if you get that number and reduce it to, who's really good in the space, globally, it goes from, thousands to hundreds. So there needs to be more of them. I think it's something that we definitely need to look into doing way more of. But yet, at the moment, probably we also have a Trusted Web3, which is out there for more sort of corporate enterprise startups that are at least looking into getting into Web3 and don't really know where to go. And if they want to dip their toes into the space, what devs have we worked with? What companies have we worked with that from a third party we can sort of verify and validate that, they are good. Because there is also, unfortunately, a lot of sort of shady firms out there that don't really do the best job in terms of development and security as well. Every sort of service that exists in the space, there are sort of people that will do it for the cheap and nasty, and it sort of gives it a bad name. So that's sort of a little stepping stone there, but definitely need to do more of that, I think.
So one of the biggest issues that I've seen with a lot of startup projects that are usually bootstrapped and stuff, it's the cost. I can either have three different devs look at it and sort of audit it, for the, or I could, the cost of 20 devs have a security firm do it. But as a startup, that's usually one of the biggest barriers. So is there, what do you see as a bonding point between obviously security and finance and being secure in Web3? That's one of the biggest hiccups I've seen with a lot of projects.
Yeah. The cost is very tied to how innovative the technology that they're building is.
Mm-hmm.
So for a startup, there's a few different things. One of the best ways to do it, if you're tight for funds, is to build out a more simple iteration of your project that your community can interact with. That's, it's going to be cheap to build, cheap to audit, but, still great and still very secure and simple. And then, if you do an audit, it's going to be cost effective and it's going to be quick. However, if you're building out something complex, audits are expensive. That's just how it is, unfortunately. And look, costs are probably going to go down slightly over time, but it's still going to be expensive because of the risk, the attention that it requires. So a lot of our clients are funded and they go through all that process, and we have to have partnerships with VCs and things like that.
Mhm.
And a lot of VC money goes straight to auditing. But yes, it is definitely a huge difficulty. I think as the industry grows, hopefully there'll be more grants, more support around auditing, more clarity. I'm not sure if there's a solution though, because it is an expensive process for everyone.
I agree with what you said there, Fletch, because it's sort of like when I think, scope creep can happen to a lot of projects where they have these really grandiose ideas of what they want to do. And it sort of falls to like this jack of all trades, master of none approach. So that is probably a good idea to, do something that is maybe a little bit smaller in scope, but do it really well. And then, once you've sort of hit the ground running a bit, you can then look to expand from there onwards.
Okay. So I know we've talked a lot of things. Let's roll this back. Let's have a little bit of fun, for a minute. So Jock, you were I'm not going to dox your room, but you're a little addicted to the price of things.
Yeah, I've got like a token ticker behind me. I'm just trying to think what else I have in my room.
You don't need to show it.
Really
you don't
dox
need
myself.
to show it. Like I said, I'm not going to dox you, but I'm going to dox you.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a degen play. You said you got in early into Web3. When is early for you?
Geez, would have been. It's not like super early, like not wizard early, but like 2013.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so that I definitely really respect everyone in the space who, especially people like that got in like before me. Like it's insane, especially if they've still got diamond hands holding for dear life. But yeah, a bit of fun. I guess I can do a little sneak peek. One of my little degen things is I've still hold like a fair bit of Catgirl token. So long live Catgirl token to the moon on that one. That's not financial advice as a heads up, because but it's sort of like, I think that's what's so cool about the space. And I really love how it seems like the sort of like meme culture is coming in really, really hard and strong. There's obviously some really cool innovations. Deepin seems really popular at the moment, but at least, we're seeing lots of almost backing from a lot of institutional investors in meme culture, which I'm not sure what the true degens think about the sort of suits and ties getting in on the meme action, but at the same time, I guess it validates their portfolio if they already sort of in it to win it.
Yeah. We can talk dead coins. I still think I still have like a bag of like cum rocket somewhere.
Yeah. Wait. Are you saying that Catgirl's a dead coin?
It's immutable, so no, it's not.
Love it.
It was 2012, 2013. So it's been there a minute. What would you say was your first NFT?
I think one of my first NFTs was like a degen ape for memes.
Okay.
Yeah. What about yourself, Fletch? I think you've got a couple.
What was your first NFT, Fletch?
Oh, there was a couple anime inspired ones. I'm not even a big anime guy. I just sort of got onto it. I looked into
for the yard.
Full set. Yeah. No, it was all.
He's not into anime, says the guy with anime figures on his desk.
They're gone. They're gone.
Those are Magna characters. Manga.
Yeah. Not too many. I was never a big NFT guy. I was more looking into I did have my phase where I was looking into different sort of pump and dump coins, but never was an NFT guy massively.
Okay.
Just wasn't.
So so this is a good segue to where both of you guys sort of talked on this, and it flew a flag to me. Meme coins and pump, and so we just recently had the 13.9 thousand soul hack of pump.fun. Were you guys surprised something like that happened? Did you guys have you done a post-mortem report on that yourselves to sort of review it for your own internal sake?
I don't believe, I'm not sure exactly about if we're doing one. We do a lot of postmortems though. It's just, I'd have to check in if we're doing that one specifically. Probably not surprised, I wouldn't say. I was talking to some of our team that work on those sort of security audits for those sort of protocols, and they had a few interesting things to say about it. But it's just a good example. It just shows the industry and how dangerous it is, and what we try to stop. Our client, I mean, not to boast, and who knows what can happen in the future, but none of our clients have ever had a hack that's resulted in loss of funds or anything like that. So that's a pretty significant statement, doing over 100 different security audits at this point.
Not if, but when.
It is a numbers game. We're not perfect, but we do try to keep the record if we can.
Yeah, that's it. We're never saying that we're not going to have, a hack or a miss, but I think, considering how many projects we've, serviced and the amount of time that we've been around, I think it sort of, leads to our processes and the systems that we have in place and who we are using for, getting those audits done. I think I really like as well that when we get, security researchers on the job, that they don't just come to Hashlock and end up being, security researcher 42. They can still have their own brand and identity that's, attached. And when the clients ask us, who did my audit, we, just send them the portfolio. So it's cool because I think and there's no thing in place where, they can't come and do work for us and then they're, locked in forever and they can't go and do their own stuff. We think that's great. If they're doing, their own security research in their spare time or whenever, that's just, learning on the job, getting better at it, honing the craft. So I think that's another thing that maybe other firms do wrong. They sort of want to lock you in and keep you in, don't go anywhere else, please. But so long as, that you're paying them right and looking after your security researchers, then they should stay if the culture is a good fit.
Yeah. So, and we see there's a lot of different public researchers, that do stuff. And I'm just going to name, that people have their love-hate relationship with, like Zach XBT, Boring Sleuth, Boring Security DAO, Wallet Guard, Arkham, and Ogle as well. And these people sort of so like Ogle, Zach, and Boring Sleuth sort of really work on making things public, what they see. And it sort of seems that they have a love-hate relationship with Twitter. Like, people dislike them because they don't go and research every single thing, and they don't know. People think that because blockchain is transparent, everything should be able to be done like that and figure something out. What is the length of time of a normal hack take?
A hack?
Yeah, let's talk about
That's an
hack.
interesting question. Yeah, look, so I know from our perspective that when we come up with some of our high level, day, 0-day exploits in our audits and our security research that we do, the team works on, high level exploits for days at a time. And that's multiple researchers working as a team for days at a time. However, there's been a few audits where it starts and it's and this has happened with clients that have already been audited, like Good Code, where it starts and just one of our security researchers just has a light bulb moment, and a few hours later after getting the code, it's yep, I've actually completely broken this. So it's a spectrum. The general process that we go through is quite a long one because we have to, as a security team, we have to go through the process. But in the wild, I think it ranges. But I think some of the best ones take. So I've heard of people taking like months to look at a code base and figure out how to break it. Because Jock, haven't there been like a few malicious ones where they like actively want to just because they don't like the founders or something, they want to break it because they don't like the team?
Yeah, there was, and not to speak too much on it, but there was rumors going around with Euler Finance, and when that happened, and to be honest, that was an interesting one for us because I think it sort of hit at a popular time in Australia. It was like 10 p.m. Australian time, and that was sort of interesting in terms of how long did that hack take. A fair quack of funds were stolen in like, I think, seconds, because that was a flash loan attack implementation, or part of it was there. But it depends where you want to sort of, call it done and dusted. I guess, how long can a hack take? It can be, seconds to steal hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars worth of funds. But then the sort of process afterwards, when there was some, blockchain messaging happening after that with the black hat hacker, and there was talks of identifying who it was, and some people in the space already knew who it was, and that there was things said at ETH Denver maybe that people got upset about. So there was lots of rumors and goss happening about that, and we were sort of just seeing it all unfold within in front of us, and we were sort of trying to get in contact with the founders, and I think a fair few security firms were, and PeckShield did a good job as well, I think, hitting up the founders in that as well. That's another thing we do like to, when that happens, I think almost all firms, and they got a fair few audits and still got hacked. So all firms were sort of really trying to sort of collaborate on that side of things, because I think it affects us all, not just security firms, but the community as a whole when that happens, because at the end of the day, that was community funds that were stolen. So everyone sort of feels, I think, a bit of duty to help out. And that's what I like about the space too, especially from the security point of view. We're pretty close with a fair few other firms. Like, at the end of the day, I guess we are competitors, but in this space, we like to view it more as collaborators. So we're pretty close with like Yev from Hacken and a couple of the founders from Sigma as well. And it's always good to sort of reach out and collaborate. We met up with Certic as well at Token, who was really cool. So everyone's like really nice and friendly, and that's what I really like about this space. But yeah, it's difficult, because if you want to call it like the first couple of seconds, it can take can range anywhere from a couple of seconds to weeks, months, days. It's all depends.
Yeah, I know. So a couple of different hacks I've seen recently. We just had the Gala token overmint supply. I think 7 million tokens. And fairly quickly, they were almost able to freeze the entire supply, I think, from that one wallet. But that makes you wonder, if we're in supposed to be a permissionless and trustless environment, where a token can be frozen at any time, does the people just sort of think, well, when do I get frozen? Or is the idea behind it supposed to be it's there to protect you?
It depends. I think I'm trying to think what token it was. It could have been, I don't want to say the wrong name in case, I dox the wrong people, but it was a certain token that was a pretty big institutional one. Mm-hmm. Maybe was it I don't want to say it in case I get it wrong, but there was freezable functionality, and there was also like the ability to remove the tokens and like destroy them from people's wallets. We're like, that doesn't sound very permissionless. That doesn't sound very decentralized. But often,
are you thinking of PayPal dollar?
Yeah,
PayPal stable. Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure that was the right
one. That
one
was crazy when that came out. That was wild. That came out like that.
Yeah,
but
we were
then,
just
but then
like,
people look at that you know, we have USDT having the same functionality, so it was like almost like people knew it but forgot about it, and people were just trying to find, you know, something that had already been, and no one really thought about it, and it was the new hot topic on scene. I think
that's oh, sorry. Yeah, that's sort of the conversation that we have with a lot of clients, because the more decentralized, permissionless you go, if you do everything 100% perfect, then it is the most secure tech that you can build. But a lot of the time, I think people are, concerned with the what if, and that's where they have those sort of more centralized processes, maybe having some sort of functionality and features that are off chain, to if there is a big what if moment, that they can do something about it. Because if that functionality to do something about it isn't already embedded in the contracts, if there's no upgradable functionality, you can't change it. That's how it is. So if something bad happens, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've seen, and I want to know your guys' perspective on this. Aave introduced the introduction with their V3 flash loans. I personally have yet to hear of any story of where flash loans saved the day. Obviously I know that a lot of times they're used in like arbitrage and stuff like that for bots to keep, things stable across multiple chains and different purposes like that. I think it's really cool tech. Being used at a ground level, for the everyday person, it's sort of like, here's a nuke at a knife fight type of thing for the everyday user. Do you think flash loans are ahead of their time, or do you think that they're a needed function for blockchain right now?
Both, definitely both. They are. Well, you said right now. Like as you said, they're definitely used in some very good ways. They're also used in malicious ways, like you said. There's a lot of flash loan attacks that happen that we have to watch out for, as you know. So they can be dangerous. But it's one of the cool things about blockchain and about the blockchain and about smart contracts is that it's possible to do something like a flash loan and permissionlessly give someone unlimited funds, essentially, or millions of dollars of funds within one transaction as long as it's paid back. It's pretty cool, and it can only exist on the public ledger of the blockchain. So I think it's going to be something that will continue to be innovated on, and it's also something that the community is still figuring out how to use correctly because it's such a new way of doing finance. It's literally a new way of doing debt and finance and utility and money that's never existed in humankind before. So yeah, I'm personally not up to date with all the different tweaks and innovations that are going on day to day with flash loans, but I know that from a broad picture, yeah, they're very interesting and they can be very dangerous, but they can be very useful.
Yeah. With any emerging tech, you're going to introduce innovation, which is going to introduce new variables that can potentially be used maliciously. So I think it's really cool that the tech is there. Obviously, it can be used for malicious means, but I haven't personally looked into the Aave flash loan contracts, so I can't speak on that too much. But I think it's cool from two perspectives because it's really innovative, and potentially scary for security reasons.
All right. So it's sort of funny how you were talking earlier about like all the news bites, of Web3 is scam this, stolen that, and everything like that. I had left the country for a few months doing the blockchain conference circuit, and got back, to my grandma. And, my grandma had cut out a whole bunch of newspaper articles. Oh, every time I saw crypto in the news, I thought of you, and I wanted to give them all to you. And I was like, oh, grandma, that touches my heart.
That's
and
so
it's
nice.
like, scam this, stolen that, scam that. Yeah, because that's all that really makes the news, so it's, unfortunately the, newspapers sell on fear, not on like cool things of like flash loans being used to pay for medical expenses in like a third world country, or, crowdsource funding, protocols that do like almost like what Kickstarter started off as, you know, small business loans and stuff, and some of the cool protocols that are coming out of like Gitcoin and stuff. So I don't know. I think we still have a lot of room to grow. You know, what's one of the biggest security? What's one of the most funniest or oddest security flaws that you guys have sort of seen exploited? That, you know, was like doing something else, but was still an exploit. But you're like, oh, that was actually sort of smart.
It happens all the time when we're quoting, actually, where a project will come in and they would have a very innovative idea. And it's like what I was explaining earlier. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to tell you, it's probably not going to be the most secure thing. It's going to need a lot of security work. It's very cool. Like, because a lot of founders, they want to recreate the world. They want to, you know, be the most innovative thing ever. So a lot of time we have to taper them down and be like, look, just to bring you back to reality, that's going to be a massive security challenge. And there's reasons why people haven't done that before. In terms of, and then, you know, we have to make sure that they don't get hacked. Oh, there's a lot. I don't want to dox clients that we quote for. Jock, do you have any like more public ones or more?
Yeah, I think there was a funny example of some countries' CBDC attempt, and they like imported like an ERC20 Open Zeppelin contract, and they spelled the import string wrong. And so that was like a big sort of public kerfuffle there. That was sort of funny. We've also had, like, in terms of like public, we had one of our lead security researchers at the Australian Crypto Convention last year on stage. He went through this essentially live demo where, like, in front of the crowd, stole 3 million US worth of ETH, and then we quickly published the findings, and it was done in a test environment, so he didn't really black hat $3 million in front of everyone. But it was, I guess, you know, depending on the technical expertise of the crowd, some people thought that, and we had to sort of, you know, tell everyone at the end, we didn't just commit a crime, just letting you know that was a test environment white hat simulation. Yeah. So that was sort of funny. And we sort of went through, you know, how you would do that and how you would hack a contract like that. And then, you know, last minute, press the button and run the code, and there's, you know, $3 million in your MetaMask wallet. So that was cool. And I think there's a video of that somewhere existing online. So I have to find that.
I was actually invited to that conference.
Oh, damn. You should have been there. That was fun.
Yeah, I was invited to that conference, and I couldn't make it. You know, I couldn't go.
That was a lot of. Yeah. Are you going to come this year? If
maybe, I don't know. We'll see how everything goes.
We'll sort you out with a ticket and everything, because that'll be so fun to like catch up in person. Especially, it's in Sydney this year. So like last year it was in Melbourne, which it was like not a massive trip for us, but a lot of our internal team are based in Sydney, so it's just a bit easier when everyone's a bit closer. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, it's amazing on how many different blockchain conferences and communities there are. So like I just came from Poland, you know, Warsaw, big tech hub, and it's really interesting how different regions, what their focus sort of is on in Web3. Dubai, it's like financial instruments, usually real estate, RWAs. France, it's like NFT and art projects and memes. Like memes are huge there. It's crazy. But Poland, Warsaw specifically, it was around payments and non-KYC payments, to be exact. You know, like because of the way the laws are written in Poland, anyone can do up to, the way it's written, it's per wallet address, not personal and not individual. So it's really weird how the Polish law is written. But it's, people can do up to 1,000 euros, not 999, but 1,001 cent. They have to KYC. So at 1,000, they don't have to KYC up to 15 transactions per day per wallet.
Okay.
You know, and so a lot of, and that's both either withdraw or deposit and stuff like that. And the idea that the way it was explained to me is it was sort of the Polish government's way of stepping away from personal people's finances, but trying to like make it easy still, for like businesses, and say like, hey, like do business work and be public about it, and you're going to be okay. You'll fall in with these regulations. Obviously, I'm sure there's some businesses that will be like, oh, well, we just have to backlog our payments, and 1,000 euros a day, 15 transactions a day, or per wallet, and run a script on that. And I think at the end of the day, that just becomes more of a headache, because if you try to give a large boundary of room, I think, of people to work within, that when it's you making regulation, that I think makes it easier for people to want to work with it, I think, as well. But it's really interesting. So there's a lot of ATM, like a lot of things around security of ATMs and crypto ATMs. I have to call out shitcoin clubs. That because anything other than Bitcoin is a shitcoin. They sort of consider. But you can buy or sell Bitcoin, ETH, USDT, USDC, Tron USDT, or Dash. Dash was an interesting one. I was like, no Monero? They're like, no, Dash. I was like, okay, cool. But it's different areas. And so the same thing, stateside, New York, you'll see more towards the finance and NFTs. Miami, it's more like the NFTs and the shit coins. Texas, it's more like we're building a blockchain, and then now everywhere, everyone's trying to bring AI into it, and every other firm is either a payment processing or a marketing firm in Poland, it seems like.
Really?
There you go.
All right.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting as well, because we are like heading to Texas for consensus next week.
Yeah.
Well, actually, end of this week is when we leave, I think, Fletch. So that's exciting. It'll be my first time in Texas. So I'm keen to eat some good barbecue and go to a Buc-ee's. That's the two things on my list.
Buc-ee's?
Yeah.
What's better than that? But okay, we'll do that.
What is a Buc-ee's? Educate me.
It's a gas station.
Okay.
No, but it's like a really big one with like
they're all pretty big. Yeah, like with like 100 petrol stations.
That's insane. That is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
But that's really cool with what
you're
like
setting
Warsaw's
the bar very low, so you're gonna have a blast.
Awesome. Because it's cool with what Warsaw's doing, because in Australia, like some of the like regulation, people are still, I feel like the government and sort of government entities are still trying to figure it out. And maybe the Australian public, at least the ones, invested in the space, might say that maybe they get like a little bit too like hands-on without knowing enough. I think one of the recent things, and shout out to Harry Dell, aka taxpappy.eth, for sort of bringing this to our attention at one of the Australian DeFi meetups. But essentially, I think the taxation authority in Australia wanted to have a thing where essentially every transaction that happened in like a blockchain sort of infrastructure transaction, so you could have one wallet and you're sending money from a wallet that you own, wallet A, to wallet B that you own. That transaction, even though you own both wallets, would be a capital gains tax event. So depending on how much the price increased or decreased in that period of time, even though you're just transferring the funds from wallet A to wallet B that you own, that would mean that you would have to be taxed 30% on that transaction and every subsequent transaction. So there was really sort of confusing and gray areas what that meant for sort of lending protocols, what it meant for staking. And if you need to, transfer your funds through, several different transactions and protocols and wallets, that would mean that you would get like
cold vault.
yeah, but you'd end up with like a pretty big tax bill, and that's before reconciled it as assets into fiat.
Yeah. That's an interesting piece. And one of the things, so I haven't really had a chance to deep dive too much into this, and so please tell me if I'm wrong, but Australia has sort of gone a little bit to the forefront of blockchain technology to where like even like the central banks, each bank can issue their own digital dollar in a way. Is that correct?
They're working on their own stable coins, yeah. And there's a few digital dollars. They're not in production, like being used by people sort of thing. They're
Okay.
just in very much innovative sort of like test bed stage. And yeah, the central, what do you call it? The, what do you
CBC?
call it? This, yeah, no, but no, what do you call our version of that?
Oh, the AUDD,
No.
the stablecoin.
Essentially there's a few things that are happening, and but Australia is weird with regulation. Like Australia is very slow with, and yeah, it's not the most pro crypto country in terms of regulation. For example, I don't understand it fully, but every time that with like a DeFi protocol, or if you make like a blockchain, if you make like an on-chain business, every time that assets move anywhere, it gets taxed. It's a taxable event, as far as I understand. So, like, you move it through like 3 steps of a protocol, it's taxed like 4 or 5 times. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it makes business in Australia for some blockchain companies impossible.
Yeah. Even with some banks and not calling out who they are, but there's I think a lot of the Australian banks introduced limits to how much money you could transfer to exchanges, and they were sort of instigated as personal limits. However, a lot of business accounts that were held with banks, especially with a lot of the crypto native companies that exist as entities within Australia, they were also hit with these personal limitations as if it was like an individual personal entity. So you can imagine if you're a crypto native company that is transacting with a fair few digital assets, depending on how big you are, $10,000 a month might be a lot, it might be a little. And so I think it definitely caused a lot of issue where people were trying to find banks that were way more crypto friendly and solutions that they could sort of on board without sort of upsetting the Australian government or the taxation authorities. So that was a really difficult stage because they sort of just there was lots of talk when they were going to drop into effect, and then all of a sudden it happened and you couldn't transfer money to an exchange anymore. So that was sort of scary happening in Australia, but luckily we found some crypto friendly banks and we're sort of good to go, and everyone sort of uses the people that are going to be nice to you and are going to be more crypto friendly. But it's always sort of like this ever changing landscape. Unfortunately, I think the regulation definitely lags behind the innovation, and that's probably said for a lot of things that government entities move a lot slower. But I think it's sort of always alarming how slow they can move at times. And maybe they need to talk to people who are sort of more embedded within the space about what things actually mean and how they function.
Yeah. What so sort of like how I was sort of talking earlier about like different regions of the world have different sort of cultures around blockchain. What would you say Australia's blockchain scene is, or at least in Sydney, maybe?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because everyone always says that Australia's blockchain community is small, but it's funny. And just quickly as well, it's funny when we go outside to different events, I see so many Australians. I don't know about you. So we have a pretty big community and we run a lot of events, and it's very tight knit. Like once you've gone to a few Australian crypto events, you start to see the same people every time. Like everyone, it's sort of like a family. Everyone knows everyone. So it has that pros and cons with that. How would you describe it, Jock? Am I describing it correctly?
Yeah, I feel like it's this like tight knit circle, but at the same time, by saying like tight knit circle, you would assume that it's not very inviting. But I would say it's the dead opposite of that. It's a tight knit circle that is super inviting. because we, were sort of worried. Obviously, we were, hanging around in the space, but not existing as a company, just, as individuals. And we thought that transition to when we started Hashlock would be really difficult, but everyone was pretty, welcoming with open arms. And so that was really good to see. I think, that was really nice. But yeah, it is interesting that whenever we, travel internationally, we just run into way more like Australians at the same time. So I'm not sure what it is. Maybe we're just like a bad smell. You guys can't get rid of us.
So do you see do you see like more of a meme culture? Do you see more of an NFT culture or more of a DeFi degen, or are you guys so backwater that you're just Bitcoin everything? And I meant that as a joke.
It's more like RW. It's more like corporate blockchain. That's probably Australia's really big for real world assets, things of that nature, like card issuance, banks looking into it, wallet infrastructure, like that sort of like infrastructure, layer 1 innovation, layer 2, layer 3 style stuff. Yeah, like research and development.
What's some of the coolest layer 3s and layer 2s that you've seen starting to come out? Or your favorites?
Well, we've worked with most of our clients are the layer 1s. So we've done like all the security for like Red Belly Network, which is like a massive layer 1 out of Australia. And things like that. I'm not sure. I don't have.
You said Red Belly Network?
Red Belly Network. Yeah, that's our client.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, so they came out of the University of Sydney. So they were like a highly funded, originally a university project that then became its own startup and had the funding. And so layer 1 that we did all of their, consensus mechanism, security auditing. We did all the auditing on the layer 1, all the Golang, and then all the smart contracts that are going into their, first block and everything like that. So
are they a proof of stake, proof of work? Are they an EVM chain? Tell me about this Red Belly Network.
Yeah, EVM. I believe there'll be proof of stake EVM and their reward asset tokenization blockchain. So they're specifically for compliance, corporate use of real-world assets. KYC is a big thing for them.
Formal verification.
Yeah, they've done a lot of formal verification. Security is massive for them, and they work with us on most of their, pretty much all their security. And yeah, that's a really good client of ours, and a massive Australian project that we work with. You should look them up.
Don't let the regulation in Australia sort of like fool you into like this false sense of no one can be building with all this like really harsh regulatory processes and sort of laws and regulations in the space. Like it's nuts. The sort of corporate institutional side of things, even the banks, like they might have these, sort of anti-crypto rules for individuals, but everyone's sort of building in the background, and they're testing transactions on Ethereum and everything, and just sort of like having this weird sort of dual persona of like making out like they're not really into crypto, but then going home and acting like degens.
Okay. All right, Giacomo, what's the last meme coin you bought?
The last meme coin.
What was the one, Jock, that they had that they were like promoting at Dubai, and they had like the actual drone show?
Bonk.
Yeah,
Bonk.
That was fun.
Bonk. I think, that was sort of funny as well, because this is not financial advice, but one of our close personal friends was like hitting us up for financial advice, and we don't offer that. But maybe personally, I just told him, I hear what's happening with the Solana phone. Like I'm gonna get into some bonk.
Yeah.
And he hit me up shortly after saying, "Thanks, man. I just bonked all my money down the drain." But bonk's doing well, so yeah, I think I haven't really checked.
Unless he bought the top.
Yeah, I think he might have bought at the top. So sorry about that, but that's why I put that. That's not financial advice. Please don't buy off my recommendation. I'm not a trader.
All right. So bonk was the last one for you, Jock. What about you, Fletcher? What was the last meme coin you bought?
I haven't done meme coins for since the start of Hashlock. So I probably can't remember. I've since then been Bitcoin and Ethereum only. I'm pretty boring, unfortunately, Taco. You might not like it, but I'm a boring guy. Yeah, so probably don't have a great answer for you.
Okay, all right. Well, what about layer ones, non-meme coins? Utility tokens. What's on your radar?
What's on my radar? I'm a long-term guy, so Bitcoin and Ethereum are my things. I think Red Belly Network, a lot of our clients I would shill. So yeah, Red Belly's token for sure, which would definitely be a good play because they've done amazing stuff. And wait, Jock, this is probably a good opportunity. Who's some clients that we should shout out? Shout out Mezfi. That's a good one. They're doing a bunch of cool stuff with what do you call it? Mezzanine finance on chain.
Okay.
Which is quite interesting. So another reward asset one. Algem is another one of our clients, ALGEM. They do a bunch of liquid staking. They've got obviously their own token, liquid staking, liquid farming.
What chain? ETH or mainnet or?
They're on the A-Star network.
Oh, a star. I love a star.
Yep. Yeah, so they're in my
Polkadot ecosystem.
Yeah, so they're one of the bigger, protocols on the Star network or A-Star network. Layer 1X, another one of our clients. Pretty cool protocol, still building though. And also shout to Verida, one of our early clients. It's the Verida network.
Yeah. Fluidity, Aqualis.
Fluidity is good. I like Fluidity.
Yep. I think Aqualis is still building, but keep an eye out on the radar.
Okay.
Vild, really cool client as well. They don't. They're still building as well. They don't have a token per se, but really cool platform.
All right.
Trying to think of some more off the top of my head.
Clicking through clients.
Yeah.
Shout them all out.
Who's cool?
Yeah.
Right. Pretty much. No. Yeah. Shout out to our clients.
No, it's funny that you brought up Bonk. Yeah, Bonk did a lot of stuff in Dubai. They also they was one of the major sponsors of Electric Daisy Carnival in Vegas, EDM concert for like 3 days. Bonk was everywhere.
Yeah. They did that massive drone show in the sky in Dubai one night, and that was like really cool. I made sure to film it and send it to a personal friend who I gave that advice to at the time. Yeah. Don't. Unfortunately, I'm sometimes hit with the buy high, sell low. That's why I wouldn't trust my advice, but at the same time, I'm in it for the long hold. That's why I still have all my cat go.
It's gonna moon one day, I'm sure.
It's gonna moon one day.
Yeah. I like to say I'm the what kind of trader am I? I like to leverage trade when I'm buying on spot sometimes, 200x long. I had a great day with ETH, so that was today was a fun day with Ethereum.
Nice.
Yeah, no. I don't know. Are you guys doing what's your shit chain right now that you're doing stuff on? So obviously you brought up Bonk, so Solana. Are you guys getting ready for like Sonic, the layer 2 built on Solana, or any of the other chains like that had just come out, like Mode?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like at the moment, I'm playing it a bit safe with like pretty much just like dollar cost averaging, like equal amounts of BTC and ETH, which is like super boring. Like Fletcher, pretty much doing the same thing. I think it is because we are shareholders of Hashlock, so we feel like we're very invested in the space anyway. So if anything, like when we sort of look at our assets and investment portfolio, I think it's pretty much 98% existing and relying on the Web3 ecosystem as a whole. So sometimes it's a difficult sell, especially I'm a new dad at the moment, so it's difficult. Thank you. But yeah, it's difficult sell to say to my partner. Yeah, by the way, we might not have as much money this week because I have bought more meme coins.
Yeah. Man, I did put out your guys' Twitter, #hashlock_. I would love for people to be able to, find you guys on Twitter and stuff like that. This has been a great time, I want people to sort of walk away with a little bit of knowledge from both of you. Jock, what's one line of security that you can give to people or to a project, your choice, people or project, one line of security of support?
Yeah, I think build with a security mindset. So like a lot of the time you chase the utility, and that's really cool, but also just keep security in the back of your mind because, your reputation of your project is super important, and a lot of that comes down to the security.
Yeah, and I want a lot of founders that are coming from Web 2 to Web 3, it almost, is against their line of thinking where they used to want a lot of technical debt because that means their product was getting used. And, if they had a lot of technical debt, then that means they had a lot of development work. But in Web 3, no, that's people's finances. That's people's information at risk, and so it's an interesting take to look at it, changing from an MVP to sort of like what you said, almost a bare bones that works, that showcases the main idea that you can build on and expand from there. Yeah. Fletcher, what about you? Teach me something.
Teach you something?
Teach me something, sir.
I think just a general one is don't look for a security firm, look for the security individuals. I think that's the biggest thing I'd give to anyone. So don't look for Hashlock, don't look for any other name. Ask them who actually does your security underneath that. That's what I would say is for any team. And other than that, also, as we all know, audits are one thing. They're not the be all and end all. So after that, make sure you're doing more things around security in terms of how you communicate and manage your community, your bug bounties and white hat hackers and things like that, ongoing monitoring, all those sort of things go into it as well. But yeah, I think those are just the main things. And other than that, although not to go back on what I said before, come to Hashlock. No, I'm joking, but I'm kind of not. And yeah, it was definitely great to chat though, Taco. I appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%.
Jock, same with you guys. And as we end, my words of wisdom are always the same. A closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth, meaning if no one knows you're looking for opportunity can never come a knocking. If opportunity does come knocking and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. Jock and Fletcher, I have had a great time with you guys tonight. And everyone can come see you if they are coming to Consensus. And you guys have an event out on Luma right now. So, come meet Hashlock. Do you guys have a booth? Do you have a presence at Consensus too?
Not the side event's the only official presence that we have at Consensus, but we're starting to do more and more events. And Singapore will probably do something. We'll definitely be there. We might even do something. And
for Token 2049.
Token 2049, and we're probably going to have side events at most conferences from now on.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, keen to catch up in the flesh and eat some good barbecue, not from Buc-ee's. We'll get barbecue somewhere else.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, come say hi.
Yeah. And so we're going to end this episode as we've ended every episode. I want to thank everyone for joining us for TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode number 637, live with Jock and Fletcher from Hashlock. You guys can find them online on Twitter on Hashlock, HASHLOCK_. And you guys can find them the same way online without the underscore .com.au. And, maybe you'll find them at an event near you. And as we end every space, the same. We end it with the greatest, worst knock joke on the face of the planet. Are you guys ready for this?
Yep.
Kind of. Let's hear it.
All right. I have said this joke 636 times. So that's how amazing it is. All right. Are you ready for it?
That's
Ready.
crazy. Okay, let's go.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?